Hey guys, I had a few questions, comments that was left on my channel about my bait board and my mount, how I had it set up on my pontoon boat. So that's what we're going to cover today. The bait board I actually got from Catfish. There's a lot of companies that make them, and Catfish makes one that's a standard size, but I gave Chris a call and I said, hey man, will you take and make me a custom board if I give you the dimensions? And he said, yeah, no problem. Now it may cost you a little more in shipping for the bigger board, but he'll be glad to take and make any size that you want. I wanted it bigger so that if I wanted to use it not only to cut up bait, but to fillet out fish that I'm going to keep, whether it's crappie or catfish, I'm not going to keep anything real big. I mean, catfish 5 pounds and under. This will accommodate anything that I want to fillet out. So he made the board 30 inches wide, and it is 16 inches deep. And of course, there's a slot here and a slot here. Well, being a board this size, I needed a way, I wanted it set up at the back of my boat. I got my rod holders set kind of around it, but I got it set up to where I don't want to have rod holders hanging right over the cowling of my motor. So you can see my outboard motor just right off the back side here. So I have I got a cousin who actually builds docks for a living. And I was asking him, getting some ideas on what we could do, what we could come up with in order to do really what I wanted to do with this particular bait board. I wanted to be able to set it off if I wanted to trailer it a long ways down the road. And I also wanted to be able to set it off to clean it, because I've got it screwed on here and I wanted to be able to pop it out real easy, but I needed it secure because it's such a big board. Well, boat docks, I'll come right back over here to this dock. Boat docks are made with this bigger tubing. It's 3 inch, and then they use like a 2.5 inch square tube. They weld the 2.5 inch down to the dock, and then this bigger tube slides over it. I basically just kind of reversed that. I used a tubing, and then my bait board slides down in it. So I'll show you now. I could have very easily used one this size, but I didn't really want anything this big on the back of my boat. So I got my hands on some scrap pieces from a boat dock builder. So these pieces measure 2 by 2. Now they don't make a square tubing that will fit down inside this without it being really loose. So I'll show you what we came up with in order to do that. Now the height, I didn't make it set all the way down on my rail. I had it, so I measured my rail, and I added a few inches, and I ended up making my uprights 30 inches. It's actually 30 inches to the top of the square tubing. So you need 2 30-inch pieces if you actually had the same size board. But if you have a smaller cut board, you don't need one this size. And then the piece we welded in between is about 18 1/8. So 18-inch piece basically in between. The reason that I did this is so I bolted through here. I could easily use clamps, but my rail was already bent on Squirrel where a tree fell across it, so I didn't have a problem drilling into it. But you could easily use straps or any other way of fastening. But the pieces that slide down into here needed a free open tube. So that's why this is just welded in for support. So 2 screws here, and then I have 1 bolt in the bottom on this side, and that's what attaches it. Now this one's kind of free. Doesn't have a bolt in it, but there's 3 in it, and it hasn't went anywhere. Now to get it loose, all you do is we drilled a hole through, and I got a pull pin. You pull it out, and then you can just set the bait board off. So you can see the mount, and then there's open tube below, so I can make, you see what we did here in a minute to slide down in each of these tubes, and then the hole that goes through, and you can see my bolts that are through, and they're stainless with nylock nuts on them. Anytime, guys, y'all use stainless to stainless, be sure to use a little bit of anti-seize, or you'll start to screw that nut on there. And when you do, sometimes you'll get lucky. If you have my luck, you won't. It'll end up seizing on you, it'll lock down, and you'll either have to break it off or cut it off. So back to the bait board here, we welded up 1-inch square tubing for a frame, and then we welded 2 pieces of angle, 1.5-inch angle. So 1.5 by 1.5, and it's not but an 1/8 inch thick. So you can see how each piece was welded up, and then we welded it on each side. And I say I didn't weld the aluminum, but I had it welded up, and I had it welded up over here. So now these act like the post on the boat dock. So that's what they have, the uprights on the platforms of the dock, and then they slide the roof post over top of it and then weld it up. But again, there's not a size square tubing to fit in that other tubing that I have for the mount. So this is how we improvised and made this up. And again, I didn't come up with that. I give credit to my cousin for designing this for me. The mount itself, I wanted stable enough to support the size board that I ordered from Chris. So we ended up making the mount 27 inches wide. And again, my bait board is 30. And then this way we went 11 inches. And of course I'm 16 inches here. And I used stainless hardware. I countersunk so my knife wouldn't hit the inside of the bait board. And then I used nylock nuts to take and tighten it up. So I've got 2 at the back here, and then I've got 1 on each side, on each side of the board. That's what it looks like from the back, and that's kind of what I've got going on from the front. And it's a little dirty, but it works great for me. If you just want to cut bait, you can just get the average bait board, and then you can basically do the same thing. You just don't need a mount as big as the mount that I have back here. You just custom make it to whatever size you want. There was some open, the tubing is just butted together, not 45'd and welded up. And just so I didn't have any wasp or anything wanting to build in here, I went on Amazon and I bought some plastic plugs that would fit inside this square tubing, this 1-inch. And it's all aluminum, so I don't have to worry about it rusting, but there's a hole in each of them. So if I did want to turn it around for any reason, I thought I might want to run it, have it like this if I was going down the road. But really, I've already trailered it with it in there the other way, so I don't even use it. I don't ever even flip it around like that. So it always stays facing just like this. And the reason I didn't want the bait board setting taking up room inside Squirrel, I wanted as much room inside the decks. I wanted most of the bait board hanging over. So basically what I did was 3 inches, 2.5 inches from the front edge of the board to where it goes down into the post. And then that way most of this is counterlevered over the back side of Squirrel. So when I put it back in, and all you do is slide it in like that. It goes down, you pop the pin in. When you put the pin that goes through, it's not going anywhere. It's not coming off. And now, because I've got 1.25 inch rail on my pontoon boat, I'm only 2.5 inches in, I'm pretty much flush. I don't have a bait board or a fillet board coming inside taking up fishing room for me to get around in the boat. And it's up high enough to where when I trim my motor up, my motor doesn't hit it. So it works out really good. I'm happy with it. And I hope this helps you guys out. And if it does, please give me that thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button and the bell so you're notified every time I upload another video. So this is Fishing with Squirrel, and I hope you enjoyed the in-depth tutorial of my bait board. And if you have any other questions about it, by all means, please leave me a comment and I will answer every comment that you put in the section right there. So I'll be glad to give you measurements. Kayak Catfish, www.catfish.com. Monster rod holders. He sells boards. Steve does. I don't know if he does custom boards, but Chris does. So you can definitely give him a call. Tell him what size you want. You want it smaller, deeper, wider, whatever you need to accommodate, and he'll take care of you. Thank you very much. God bless. We'll catch you on the water.